Today we are going to take a look at the Polaroid SLR Macro. This chungus of a camera is pretty unique in the sense that you can take photos as close as 3 inches. So let's take a closer look at what this camera can do.
You know the type of guy that was a jock in high school but ended up becoming a huge nerd? You know, someone that's not afraid to make a fool of themselves on the internet. And someone that likes to shoot Polaroid a little too much. Did I say huge nerd? You know, just an ordinary, everyday guy. Well, that's me. I'm just another Chris.
So, let's talk origins. No, ever. Never ever that origins. I'm talking the origins of this camera. This version of the camera was released in 1995, and you may notice it doesn't really have a catchy name. Polaroid Macro 5 SLR. Yeah, and that's probably due to the fact it wasn't meant for the general public to use. Therefore, it didn't really need a fancy market-friendly name. So who was this camera actually for then? Well, it was used by the professionals. I know what you're thinking. Oh, it's a camera, so that means professional photographers use this then. Well, not exactly. It was intended to be used by people in the medical field, law enforcement like CSI. Yes, that's CSI. As well as engineering and manufacturing, just to name a few. This camera doesn't operate like a normal Polaroid camera would, though it is an SLR, so when you look through the viewfinder, you're looking through the lens itself. But the neat thing is you have 5, count them 5 different lenses built into the thing that you can switch to just by this little knob on the top of the camera. Well, it's more a dial than a knob. Now, here's one of the catches with this camera. There are 2. This is a macro camera, so the camera is really good for close-up shots, like really close up. You can take photos up to 3 inches and as far away as 53 inches away. One of the coolest options is the 1x setting, which means it's a proper 1-to-1 scale of whatever you're taking a photo of. So if you take a photo of an object and you place it next to the object, you are going to see that the photo is exactly the same size as the real thing in real life. Now, let's take a look at the back of this thing. So it has all the normal things you would expect. A power button, exposure compensation, a flash on and off switch. However, this camera has 2 flashes and you can set it to use both or left and or right, whichever one you want. Now, to use the internal flashes, however, you do have to use AA batteries that are stored in the hand grip. But worth noting, these will not power the camera itself, just the flash. Now, speaking of flash, you do have an added option to plug in external triggered flashes, but you have to use a PC to use it, at least from the research that I found, like special software or something. I don't have it, so I can't test it out. The exposure compensation is actually pretty interesting. You have a wide selection of under or over exposing your shots. Normally you just have 1 over or 1 under. This has it like 4 over and 4 under. 3, not 4. I didn't think that was right. Yeah, it's 3. It also offers options to burn in date stamps into the photo as well as a few other things. It also has a few accessories you can add to the front of this, such as a ratio doubler lens attachment, a polarizing filter, there's a dental kit you can add, just to name a few. Now, let's talk about how to focus this thing, which is actually a pretty unique and really cool way. So to get this thing to focus, which is really cool, and it might be hard to tell with this up, I'll show you in a second with some B-roll. You see that light that I'm shining across? That's how you focus this thing. You have 2 beams that are at different angles, and as you move the camera physically back and forth, the beams get farther and closer together. And when the 2 beams meet each other, that's when you're in focus. That is really cool. It's very unique. And the reason that is because it can be a little bit difficult to get critical focus when you're trying to take a macro shot. It looks in focus, but it may not be critical focus. So this beam of light definitely helps with that, which is really cool. Now that we have learned about the camera, it's time to talk about the major kicker of all this. Remember, I said there was 2 kickers of this, And that is the fact that it shoots Spectra film, which, as you probably know, isn't being made anymore. However, you can use 600 and I-type film in this bad boy right here. And I'll make a video showing you how exactly to do that. So be on the lookout and subscribe and click that bell so you don't miss out. But here are a few examples of what I've done with it. On the tops of the photos, they aren't evenly spread, and that's because these aren't the right size to shoot through this thing, so it doesn't quite spread evenly every single time. And you can also see just how close you can actually get. For instance, take a look at this baby Yoda. It's Grogu, I know, but I refuse to call him that. Here's what it looks like in person. Look how tiny he is. You're pretty close. This is at the max, so this is 3 inches away. Now I need to take a second to give a huge, massive shout out and say thank you to Cameron for making this video possible. During one of my weekly live streams, I was talking about this camera and how I have never shot Spectra before. I got a comment on the stream from Cameron saying, "Yo, what's your address? I'm sending you a pack to shoot." I'm paraphrasing, of course. But thank you again, Cameron, for sending this over. Now, guys, I have left a link to his Instagram. Go check him out. He has some sweet photos over there. Highly recommend checking it out. Link is in the description. Thank you, buddy. All right, enough rambling about the specs and all about this camera. Let's take it into the field and see what we can do with it. I don't have a cameraman today, so bear with the weird shots. All right, I got the film here. This is Polaroid Originals Color Spectra film. I've never shot Spectra film before, so this is gonna be pretty fun. So the first shot I'm gonna do is just a basic headshot, because that is the only like wide shot I can get. It is 52 inches is the farthest away you can shoot with this camera. Everything else is up close. So I want to take a headshot with this, and to do that, I've got my lovely assistant Astro. He's a little lazy, he's a little quiet, he's not very chatty, so should be perfect to get some photos. I don't have to worry about him complaining too much. So let's load this up and get to shooting. Now, I notice with this camera, you have to use the flash. Otherwise, it ain't gonna work very well. This is the first shot I've ever done with Spectra film in my life. So let's hope for the best. I have the flash on. Exposure compensation just in the middle. See what happens. Maybe I should do it like this. That'd be cool. Ooh, I think I will do that. Whew. First shot ever on Spectra film. Now, you may be wondering what's the difference between Spectra film and Polaroid film. Well, this is, a Polaroid picture. This is what you think of when you think of Polaroid, right? The square format. Well, in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, somewhere in that time frame, they actually came out with another type of film called Spectra. And that's what I just shot. It's a little bit wider. Not by much, just a little bit. And yeah, it's pretty cool. They don't make it anymore. I discontinued it 2 years ago. So this is my first one. Let's hope for the best. I'm gonna take a photo of Mr. Iron Giant here. Picture of him at his closest distance that you can get, which is 3 inches. It's crazy. I probably don't need full power of flash at that range. I wouldn't think. I don't know though for sure. So, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Play it safe. Can you see the light on him? I don't think you can. Whew. There it is. So I don't have anybody handy to help me shoot this picture. And I wanted to really feature something what it was kind of intended for, not just, taking random toy photos. So what it would have been used for is like in medical field or CSI. That one. And so I thought, well, what can I do? I don't want to show gruesome stuff, or at least too much. So I thought, well, take a picture of an eyeball. That's what it would have been used for. Even has a setting for it on the camera itself. Kind of. I don't have anybody to shoot this, but this can be extremely difficult to get framed up and also in focus. So how do I do it? But the nice thing about this camera is it has the measurements on the top. So when I turn it over to the close-up lens, I know 3 inches is in focus. So I measured a 3-inch piece of tape, try and line up my eye and take a selfie. We'll see what happens. Let's turn her on. Flash is powered. This is so weird. Okay. I think I'm lined up. I would have to be right here. 3, 2, 1. What? Ah, oh, that's bright. It didn't work. Ooh. I think I know why. It wasn't turned on for the focus. That is bright. How did they do this with patients in a hospital? Oh my god. I have zero faith in that. No. Oh, so that was horrible. So yeah, I'm dying a little bit. I have no idea if this is even going to come out. All right, now that I shot a few photos, why don't we take a look at these? Now, this film is expired. The film that Cameron sent me expired in April 2020, so it's only about a year expired. So it's not terrible. However, you may notice through the video of me shooting this, the film doesn't like to eject. And that is not due to this camera. That is due to the fact that the film is a little bit thicker than it was in the past. And so that's partly why Polaroid was discontinued this film. Maybe I'll do a future video on explaining it a little bit more in depth about what happened with Spectra, but there's a lot of other people you can go watch that have explained it already. So I recommend just doing a quick search. You'll find the information you want. It's a little bit thicker, so the Spectra cameras have a little bit more trouble ejecting the film out. So you kind of have to give it a couple little love taps to get it to come out. Now, you're probably asking yourself, well, I thought this was a macro camera. It looks like a headshot. You're absolutely correct. This can technically do headshots, but everything else is going to be pretty dang close up. We got, I keep calling him Andre the Giant. It's not his name. It's the Iron Giant. Here he is in real life. You get pretty close. He lights up too. I had the lights on in this photo, but you can't really tell. Now, the photo of my eye. Yeah, so I got the framing somewhat okay and the focus somewhat okay, but my eye is pretty squinted. That was, again, because of how much light was just being slammed in my face, but I kind of like it. I did get some of the my blue marker in the frame, but I don't know, it's kind of cool. I'm actually surprised I got anything out of it, to be honest. Boom, we got the king himself sitting on the Iron Throne. That's what I'm talking about. Hail to the king, baby. A little Paul Rudd action. That one didn't come out very good. It was a little too dark. What are your thoughts on this? Okay, hang on. I just got to butt in really quick. I just want to remind you guys, there's still time to grab my first book. Yeah, my first book ever. It's packed full of goodies. I don't just mean cool, fun stories and photography and things like that. I mean actual physical items. I'm packing this full of things. I'm calling it the Artifact version. And as an added bonus, I am including the monthly print club that I'm starting in April. Yes, first month ever. Is this guy right here. A little signed print with fun facts about the photo and other cool things. This is typically just going to be for Patreon members only, but I am including it with this book. So, and it packed full of other good things just like that, and a fun weird stuff too. I'm pretty excited for you guys to check this out. So if you're interested, there are some links in the description below to help you out. Now back to me. Now, I did have one major incident where it didn't spread well. Again, due to the fact that it's expired film, but it's still kind of a cool shot. I was taking a picture of a lighter with the flame on. Kind of added to the flare, but it didn't spread like a quarter of the picture. I also wanted to demonstrate the 1-to-1 feature. Here's a Lego Boba Fett figure that my sister actually made for me years ago. Right here, check it out. But if I put the figure right next to the photo, it's an exact 1-to-1 scale. It's pretty cool. If you guys want to see some more photos of this camera in action, I'll be posting them over on the Instagram through the week. So if you want to see that, consider checking it out. What are your thoughts on this unique camera? It's pretty unique. Let's chat about it in the comments. I would love to hear what you think. Thank you for watching, and get out there, make some more.